third place with 107 points. And playing with the Vampire Covenant is Mass Ingvar. In second place with 108 points, playing with the Highborn Elves, Jacob Nugren. We're gonna put in some effects here, like cheering. And in first place with 108 points, 3 scenarios and 2 fair play, it's Henry Miller. So yeah, welcome to Ammertime podcast, episode number, I think it's 14.
We got 14 already? I think it's
yeah.
going nicely. Yeah.
I think 20 is going to be the benchmark, like 20 episodes. So yeah, from that little escapade, you can tell that we had a tournament at the weekend, a very successful tournament. I might have come in first place. Hashtag champion of Denmark, number 1.
And it's actually Giant Fanatic. It's the biggest tournament in Denmark, and I think it's the biggest singles tournament in Scandinavia as well.
Yeah,
with
so
over 100 participants.
Scandinavia number 1, right here. And the owners did very well as well. You came 9th place.
Came in 9th place, and I got best in race for the second time. First time was at the ETC qualifier for
congratulations.
Denmark. Thank you very much. And that was actually my aim for the tournament. I was going for the best in race. So I'm quite happy about it.
Yeah, I was also going for best in race. So
you just took it all the way.
And we should also say that we won the top team as well.
Yeah. So
Christopher, Jonas and I, we were team Ammertime, and we won the overall team as well.
Yeah. With an average of 93 points, I think was
I think
average.
the maximum is 140, right?
Yeah.
108. I did really well.
Yeah, I think you did really nice.
Yeah.
Especially when you only got a painting score of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 20. I think that was because of my white lines, hashtag Forest Rangers.
I think your army it looks good, but it could always use another layer.
Always use another highlight, right? So yeah, today we're going to talk about Giant Fanatic and our lists and also our games. We're also going to have a little bit of news.
Actually, I think something quite. I think something happened that you guys should know about, because when Giant Fanatic 18 was originally designed, it was designed so that Age of Sigmar would be the big tournament at Giant Fanatic, and the 9th Age was going to be the smaller event with about 30 people. But then the community really rallied
we
behind
struck
it.
back.
Yeah, exactly, and we pushed it, and they just couldn't get any Age of Sigmar players.
There's 3 people signed up.
Yeah, something like that. So they kind of made the 9th Age the big event, and of course the 9th Age community really supports.
104 tickets were sold.
Yeah, I think that's 104. That's a lot of for a small country like Denmark, and like we only had one foreigner. And that was Henry, and he swept in and took the first place as the foreign player that he is. But okay.
Beat all the Danes out.
And getting beat in my own house.
And we should also say about the tournament, the scenarios.
Yeah.
So the tournament was really heavily based on the scenario, and there was some scenarios that were all pre-made, right?
Yeah.
Well, the first one was the banners, capture the flag out of the rulebook.
And let's just say from the beginning that scenario points at this tournament was 5 points instead of the normal 3 points.
Yeah, so
and I think
really
that changes a lot about the dynamics, because like you can beat your opponents, and if it's only 3 points, and you can you can have the 3 points, I'm still winning.
I'm still killing your army.
Yeah, I'm still winning big, but with 5 points, I think that's a bigger swing.
Yeah. So a lot of people's lists were built around getting the scenario and also denying it to your opponent. And I had 4 scoring units just for that reason. But there was obviously some other scenarios as well. So there was one scenario which was a mosh pit scenario, where you have to hold the ground, but instead of winning the objective at the end, you get 1 point every turn you hold the objective.
Yeah.
In the
so
middle.
It's pretty much a king of the hill kind of setup.
Yeah.
If you have the hill with more scoring units than your opponent, you're getting a point each at the end of each player turn.
Yeah.
I think so.
No, I
game
can't
turn.
remember.
I think it was player turn. Yeah. And so you kind of add up throughout the game, and I like that scenario because it kind of forced everybody. Yeah, it's good for the vermin swarm with the Plague Pendulum, but also it kind of forces you to move out to the map early. I think some of the other scenarios that we'll get into later kind of it didn't force people out onto the map. You could just stand back and making sure that your opponent didn't score the objective through the game, and just we'll come around.
So what we think we'll do is we'll talk about the scenario when we get to the game.
Yeah.
So I just would like to say a few things about the tournament itself.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really, really good tournament. And I thought everyone I played was super nice. I didn't have one bad game. I thought everyone was really, really cool and chill. I think the Ninth Age kind of vibe is really good. I don't know about you, but I thought everyone was really super opponent. I would love to play all of them again.
I gotta say, I had 2 games against some of the old ETC Danish guys, and they were kind of a bit intense about it.
Okay.
But then I had 3 other really cool games. Actually, my last game was against the guy who won the Fair Play prize, and he was really very enjoyable to play against. And he's invited us to a tournament in the spring. Okay. And we'll see to it when it comes around.
When's that?
It's like I don't know, man, in March or April, something like that.
Yeah, cool.
But
we'll definitely go to that one. I thought the painting was obviously a bit of a contention with us because we were a little bit worried about my White Lions / Forest Rangers, and rightly so, because the painting was obviously the Thomas who ran the tournament. He's a really good painter. And this was obviously something that he wanted to emphasise was part of the hobby. And there were some incidents at the tournament where there was like a unit filler that wasn't a very good unit filler, and a unit of 10 archers was reduced to a unit of 9 archers, and that was not so good.
Actually, I think it was like 15 Savage Orcs that was like banned from the tournament because they wasn't well enough. The unit filler for the 15 Savage Orcs wasn't good enough, so they get banned. And I think 15 Savage Orcs, that's a lot of points, and that's a unit that just doesn't do what it's supposed to do anymore.
So I think the rules maybe should have been a little bit clearer. I mean, I was looking at it and it just said that I would get hit on painting if the models weren't correct, and that's what happened to me. But I think some other people maybe got some worse experiences, so that wasn't so good. But apart from that, I thought it was a really, really, really good tournament, and Thomas did a great job considering the amount of work that it takes to organise a 100-person event. So really, really well done to Thomas, and thank you for giving us that. So before we get into our games, we have a little bit of news and rumours. On the 25th of October is version 1.2, and that's going to be like a new rule set.
And I haven't been looking at it.
Have you looked at all what's been said? So they've said something like there's going to be a different distinction between Lords, Heroes, Core, Special and Rare. So there's going to be some kind of new way that they're dividing the armies. I mean, I have no idea what it could be. Like, some people have said it's going to be similar to 40k, like heavy support, light support, fast attack, that kind of thing. I have no idea how the 40k system works, but
they changed it as well in the 40k. Games Workshop changed it like a year or 2 ago into something with like the battle scrolls set up, where now you have to take battle scrolls as well in the 40k. And I think that I talked to one of my old friends who used to play 40k, and he says it's not the same anymore. It just doesn't work.
Well, I'm apprehensive about the Ninth Age system. I think it will be tested vigorously and rigorously, and I don't think anyone should worry too much about how it's going to play out, because you'll get used to it, and it will be fine, because these guys have been balancing games for this game for a long time.
Yeah, and you have to remember that the 1.2 is really a test. It's a beta for the 2.0, and the 2.0 will be coming out in spring or
after
something?
ETC next year.
After ETC next year, okay.
Yeah.
So they'll have some time to kind of test things and like always give a lot of feedback, and of course, as always, they'll actually listen to our feedback. Like not like back in the days. And so I think if I'm excited to see what they're trying out. I think it's important to try some new stuff out.
Yeah.
So we don't
just open-minded about it, right?
Yeah, and just don't just copy the 8th edition. The 8th edition was a nice edition, but I think it has some problems, and I think it's important to try some other stuff out to see how it works out to get a even better system.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like we said, the version 2 is coming out after ETC, and from what I can tell, that's going to be more stable edition, and which might be around for a long time. So we're kind of halfway through the process now.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to get like a stable edition, even if it's going to be in like a year's time. I'm excited to finally get like a hard stable edition that we're going to be playing for a long time.
And I think I do think that the version 1.1, 1.01 or something, the version we're on right now, I think it's been playing for like 3-4 months, something like that.
I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think it's a good version. There is some small balance issues
here and there,
with flatulence, for instance. Even though I don't think they're that bad, I was playing the Empire in one of my games at the tournament, and my opponent actually pulled out a fair point that the 2 buff wagons that you have in your back to support the flatulence units, it's kind of like having one pendulum point-wise. It's like having one pendulum in each of the units.
Yeah.
So I think he's using a lot of points in support units that's to these 2 blocks of flatulence. So I don't think flatulence are that's badly balanced, but but I think they need a little bit of twitching.
But hopefully that will be resolved when the new books come out.
Yeah,
soon.
sure, for sure, no problem.
Yeah. Some other news and rumours. I'm going to England on the 12th of November.
Yeah.
Going to go to Jack Austin's tournament. It's something about a pork chop. I don't know. Something about porking. I don't know. That's what it's called. I think it's called the pork chop or something like that. There was some banter thrown around about spit roasters and Tommy Tucker's grudging me in the first round.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm going to rape harass Tommy Tucker.
So now you're going to invade England as well?
Yeah, I'm going to. Now I've conquered Denmark. I'm coming back to the home country. Going to conquer that one as well.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I'm going to win that one. I'm probably going to bring my vampire counts or maybe the warriors if I haven't got them painted, just for something new.
You should be able to get the vampire counts up and running, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to tell Tommy Tucker what I'm running, but I have a lot of models to paint.
Yeah.
So yeah, take that as a little bit of a tip.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not a tip. Maybe I'm just trying to do
it out.
Yeah, just do make you think I'm playing with loads of models, and then actually I'm playing with 2 models or 3 models.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or maybe I'm just saying this so you think.
Right.
Yeah, the other news and rumours, it's more news than rumours. The Danish ETC team is looking for players. I got a message yesterday from Rasmus. I assume he's the captain now. We had Rasmus on the show before. He won Ammerhammer with the Underground Ambush list. I think he did really well actually. On he came in.
Actually, he didn't win the tournament. It was actually a demon player who won.
Oh yeah, Mas won. Yeah, Rasmus won the last game.
Yeah, but we never could get an interview with him.
No, we didn't get a chance. But Rasmus came 7th in Giant Fanatic. So yeah, he's a really good player, and he's looking for guys who want to be on the Danish ETC team. And if you want to get on the Danish ETC team, you should contact Rasmus on Powerfist. I will put a link in the show notes for you guys who are interested, so you can find the relevant subforum, or if maybe you can probably find him on Facebook. I'm sure he'll answer questions. So yeah, Danish ETC team want some players.
Yeah, and definitely the Danish ETC team has a long tradition of getting good results. They've won ETC, I think 2 or 3 times or something like that. So it's definitely. a team that's showing up for tournaments and
they beat
well.
us, didn't they, at the ETC warm-up?
Yeah, I think we won.
Did we win?
Yeah, I think in the end.
Christopher, did Team Ammertime beat the Danish ETC team?
I think we got just one spot over them, didn't we?
No, we finished over Aarhus Big Uns.
Oh, okay,
no, when we played them though.
I think we won. Yeah, I think we won.
Yeah, I won against. Yeah, I think 20-0 told.
Yeah, I 20-0 my opponents as well.
think I lost.
He was screaming. The Pig Pendant guy, he was just doing work against ogres, like one-shotting the lords and stuff like that.
I just rushed the Empire gun line, and my lord didn't die to the cannons, and then it all crumbled from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Christopher, the Danish ETC team are looking for players if you're interested.
It's a lot of work.
If it's in Athens again, I would consider it, because Athens is such a nice venue.
I think it's in Italy.
It's also worth considering.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're interested in getting on the Danish ETC team, you can either drop me a line and I can put you in contact with Rasmus, or you can get him on the link in the show notes. So I think we're going to take a quick break now before we start, and we're going to get some dinner, and then we're going to go through the tournament. Welcome back to Ammertime podcast. So Jonas and I, we're joined with Christopher, who's painting in the kitchen.
Hello!
So yeah, we're going to talk about our lists first.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to go quickly through our games and the matchups and what we thought about that.
Yeah.
So firstly, the winning list.
Yeah.
The winning list. So
You're really gonna rub this all over my face.
I'm not only am I rubbing it over your face, I'm rubbing it over Denmark's face.
Ah, man.
You got an English guy that will come in, won the biggest
yeah.
tournament in Denmark. Come on, you got to give me a little bit of.
I think you did well.
I'm never going to win this tournament again in my life, so you got to give me my moment in the sun, right?
Yeah, I think you played well.
Okay,
and you got easy opponents.
I'm not saying that you were bad, I'm just saying your opponents were really bad.
So,
anyways, let's hear the winning list.
The winning list was written in my phone as Shadow List number 2. So Shadow List number 2. So the general is a forest prince with he's a hunter on an elk. I think it's called an elk. Yeah, it's an elk. Great elk. He's got a blessed sword, elven cloak, light armor, potion of strength, fire blight pendant, helm of the wild hunt, a shield, and he's got Sylvan blaze just because I had 5 points left.
Does that actually do anything when you're having a magical weapon?
The rule is that no, it doesn't.
Okay, so it doesn't even give you initiative?
No, it doesn't do anything. It's just
okay.
I had 395 points,
yeah.
or not, 2,395 points, and I needed to put 5 points somewhere, and it was either give him a bow or give him Sylvan blades. So I give him Sylvan blades because it's closed list, and then I can say Sylvan blades.
Yeah.
And then people don't see the blessed sword.
And if he gets his other sword destroyed, if he has another one,
Yeah.
I think it's okay. If you have extra 5 points.
Yeah, and it's 5 points that my opponent gets if I don't pay it. So
might as well sink it somewhere.
and this guy is good because the Helm of the Hunt is not the most viable build. I think the the Bluffer's Helm is better, but it's so situational that it's really, 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 really good. You get 7 attacks on the charge, so 4 base, 5 for frenzy, 6 for devastating charge, and 7 for the Helm of the Hunt. So having 7 attacks on the charge is fantastic. And the Helm of the Hunt also gives an extra armor save, armor save and weapon skill when you charge.
Yeah.
So the extra weapon skill, making weapon skill 8, allows you to hit characters like vampires. #Game2 did not work. Chaos Lord's weapon skill 8, but then you get hit on a 4+. And then Elf Lords and Dwarf Lords, game 5.
Yeah.
Really hitting on the 2+ really helps him. And then you have the potion of strength, so he's pretty much just going to go in and kill things on only 1 turn.
And it's a character. What's it designed to do? I think it's designed to duel other characters, right?
Yeah, he's designed to kill other characters and also hold up great weapon infantry. Okay. Because the Fireblight Pendant is an item that doesn't give you no strength bonuses for mundane or magical weapons. So if he's going in there, he can fight the Chaos Lord with a great weapon. He can fight anything that has a great weapon. He can fight it because he's toughness 5. And excuse me.
Toughness 5?
From the elk.
It's toughness 5.
The elk gives him toughness 5.
I mean, like the red thing in Old Skaven. Toughness 5. That's just nice on your general.
Especially an elf.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Toughness 4 should do it.
Yeah, I think it should be toughness 4.
Anyways,
but that's another thing. And then he can also fight the great weapon infantry. So like warriors of chaos with great weapons, I can just run in and stand there and all day long, and he's not going to kill me because he's winning me on 5s.
So I'm thinking if you could do the other helm, the reroll,
the
Bluffer's helm,
yeah.
and you still could do the Fire Blight Pendant.
Yeah,
I think that's
can,
really strong.
You can fit it all in, but I chose this one because I get the extra weapon skill and extra attack, and I think that's better in the meta at the moment because of all the big gribblies going around. That weapon skill 7.
Okay.
So yeah, he was pretty good. The only thing he can't do is go in and take a challenge from a champion, because if he goes in and takes a challenge from a champion, next time he's only weapon skill 5, not weapon skill 5, he's weapon skill 7, but he's only got 5 attacks next time. So you have to be careful not to charge him in when there's a champion that's just going to challenge him out, because if he challenges him out, then he loses 2 attacks, and maybe 3 attacks if he actually loses combat from frenzy.
Yeah.
So he's good on the charge, and otherwise he's
not so much.
Yeah.
But I guess he's good because right now I think in the meta there is a lot of single characters. We are seeing a lot of chariot characters kind of roaming around. So we've seen the re-entering of dragons. Like I was playing a dragon empire list. It was like, oh, what's the dragon doing here? But it did nicely.
He can kill
you
dragons.
Get all the buff wagons. That's on their own as well. I think. As long as you can duel really well, I think your character is in a nice spot.
Yeah, because he has 7 attacks and strength 6, so he wounds on a 4+, and he has Blessed Sword, so reroll. And obviously the Blessed Sword also gives divine attack, so reroll the ward save.
I think that's...
It's quite a nice setup, right?
Jonas'
face is like, what?
Yeah, I think really that's a nice sword. The Blessed Sword, I've never really looked at it.
Yeah, it was actually Oliver's idea. I will give him some credit for this. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for Oliver. He did have Obsidian Blade before, but I think Blessed Sword's better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the stag guy. The Chieftain, the standard Chieftain build, I feel at least. The BSB with Forest Guardian, Hardened Shield, Light Armour, Sacred Spear of Cadaron, and the War Banner. So this gives you +2 to your combat res, which is really nice. And then he obviously gives distracting to the unit as long as he strikes first and kills something. And he's got a 2+ arm save.
Yeah, and he's just doing really well.
Yeah, he's the workhorse of the whole army. Like, he's so good. It just makes that one core block or special block just amazing. Having distracting just kind of takes away your weakness as an elf. Like, if you can't get hit, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And you have the high weapon skill. You have the high weapon skill already. Yeah. And you're combining it with with Shadow as well. Yeah. So you can you can miasma stuff and make it lower.
Is amazing.
Like if you can lower 3 weapon skill 3 troops to 2, and then afterwards having distracting, only hitting you on 6s and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the crux of the combat list. Is like the two wizards on level 2, one with an extra spell, and then one with the bow of Wyscan, and then extra spell and bow of Wyscan, and the other one with a Dispel scroll. So the Wyscan bow was okay. It rolled pretty average. I think the highest roll was 9, the lowest roll was 3 or something. So it was okay. Extra poison shots is always nice. And he goes in the poison scouts usually. Both wizards usually sit in the back in one of the sentinel units. In core I have 9 dryads. They're with skirmish. They're like just another chaff unit really, and they're quite good for killing chariots. Like a chariot will charge in with strength 5, and it only wounds on 3+. And so long as they don't roll a 5 or a 6 and impact hits, the dryads are going to smash the chariot because they're strength 4. So I have lots of attacks, and I wound on a 5, and I have a 5+ ward save. So it's actually not very likely that you're going to break a unit of dryads on the charge with a chariot. So they're there to counteract chariots, because I think we see a lot of them at least in our meta. And the huntsmen are kind of weak against chariots. So if there's a huntsman unit facing off with a chariot, you don't want to move them up, because if you get charged by the chariot, they're fucked, because they require hitting first. So I can push a chariot away with a unit of dryads, but usually people don't realise and they just charge me anyway. 2 units of Sylvan Elf archers with black arrows, banner and musician for the scoring unit, and one of them with Relentless Company, and that's just to sneakily steal the scenario. If people aren't seeing it, I can just say, okay, I can triple march. So people might not realise that I can get the scenario, because you can be like 21 inches away from the counter, and that's pretty far, and only I can march 15, so I can get a scenario really easy. And as we said before, the tournament is focused on the scenario, so being able to do that is really important. And
you don't need your veteran standard anywhere else, do you?
No, not really.
Not in the block with your BSB and no.
No, well, the block is in special.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Heath Riders 5. There's just another scoring unit. I changed the fast cav for Elven cloaks and the longbow for a shield. They have a full command, so just another scoring unit and a 3% armor save scoring unit. That's also really fast. Most games these hid behind a hill and waited until I needed to claim the objective, and I did that with them like 4 times out of 5.
Yeah, and 130 points. That's dirt cheap as well.
Yeah, exactly. In special, 2 units of Blade Dancers. These are just the best unit in the game.
Yeah,
they're so good. They're amazing. They just do everything.
I think it's especially because they're skirmish. As a Vermin Swarm player, I always find it very hard to do anything about them because they're skirmish and they're pretty resistant to magic missiles.
Yeah, they have magic resist 1 and ward save, so 5
so
plus ward save.
5 plus, it's okay. So you can, and if only one guy lives, when he goes in and he dances the 3+ ward save. And you probably, as a Vermin Swarm player, you're probably not hitting him. Sometimes you're only hitting him on 5s, depending on what you're going into. And I just always find it very hard to do anything about this particular chaff unit. A lot of the other stuff, I'm well equipped against the chariots stuff and all that. But like the war dancers and similar units, it's just really hard.
Yeah, and I really think the special is like the main focus of this list. Like all the workhorses are in special. The next unit is 25 Forest Rangers with Elven Cloaks and Amaryl's Banner. So that's 20 attacks when you charge in, because they're fighting 3 ranks.
Yep.
And they're strength 5, and obviously the BSB is going in here. Yep. So they usually have distracting. This unit is just fantastic. They either pushing people off objectives, taking out Death Stars, everything. I mean, one game, as you'll hear soon, they took out 2 Death Stars in one go. I mean, they were pretty depleted with the second one, and I had to do a combo charge with everything else. But yeah, they're doing the work. The Forest Rangers, they're fantastic. Yeah. Web skill 5, Bodyguard, Immune Psychology, so good. Then the two units that did probably the most out of everything all tournament are the Wild Huntsmen.
And so we are back to the Wild Huntsmen. And what they were called? What were they called in 8th?
Wild Riders.
Wild Riders. I just hate Wild Riders. The amount of times I've lost games against Wild Riders, I just can't count it on one hand. I hate those guys. And it seems like they are really getting back into the meta again. And
yeah, for sure.
I really hate that shit.
But I run them with paired weapons, and a lot of people don't like them with paired weapons because they kind of. The Sylvan Elves are lacking strength 5 and 6, but I think they're so much better with paired weapons because the initiative 6 is amazing. It helps you in the elf matchup. It helps you against helps you against Skaven. It helps you in so many different levels. And when you combine it with the Shadow, it just works. It's so good. And one of the units had a Flaming Banner and a Champion, just because I can put the Forest Prince in there with the Champion, and he can take challenges. And the Flaming Banner obviously gives me something against regen monsters and stuff.
Hell pits.
Hell pits, yeah, exactly. And
do you have the great weapon Forest Rangers?
Yeah, so the strength 5.
Yeah, so you don't need any more strength 5, I guess.
And as we'll get to in a second, the extra attack is really good with Shadow because you have all the spells that kind of synergize with it. In rare, I have 2 units of Sentinels. Well, both with 4 form points. One of them has scouts and paired weapons, and again, this synergizes with the Shadow Laws. I'm going to talk about in a second. The scouts are so good because with scout you can pretty much park yourself in front of a monster. You don't have to put them down before, and they can be where you want them to be on the board. I think the scout is really good with them. If I could have it on both units, I would. So yeah, that's the list. Just a few things about the list. Like I said, the mages go with the sentinels that aren't scouting. So I get the 8 plus 2d6 shots with poison. So that's quite nice because usually when you're shooting with poison, you're going to shoot the same target, and you want to shoot as many shots as you can at the same target. So if the wizard's in the poison shots, then you know you're going to have a good target for them.
And you probably do like 2.5 poison wounds each time you shoot. Like if you get 8 from the unit, 7 from the guy.
Yeah.
So that's 15 poison, and that's decent.
And if you're on a sheep dice, you get 4 or 5.
The sheep dice.
Sheep dice. The sheep dice are so good. Actually, well, mine are quite average. Christopher's are really broken, apparently.
Mine are saving everything.
And failing leadership test.
Failing leadership test left and right. Doesn't matter how many rerolls or high leadership I get. They run off.
I think mine were up and down, but they were rolling poisons quite well at times. Yeah. Sometimes they just weren't.
That's kind of your staple mark Henry Miller play, like rolling shooting 5 poison arrows, getting 4 poison hits or something.
Well, that's also your signature play. I haven't had a catapult in a game that survived to turn 2 yet.
So
yeah, we like the poison at Ammertime.
Yeah.
Like I'm completely done using war machines. Everyone has scouting poison, so what does it even matter?
Yeah, the way that the shadow synergizes with the list is quite important. Like as Jonas was hinting to before, if you can get them down to weapon skill 2, most of my combat units are weapon skill 5. The only ones that aren't are the sentinels, which usually don't get into combat with the paired weapons, but they're initiative 6, so that's fine. And the Heath Riders, they're there for scoring, as are the archers. So they're the units that aren't getting in combat, but the rest of them, the blade dancers, the rangers, the huntsmen, they're all weapon skill 5. So to get someone to weapon skill 2, that's not unrealistic with 2 miasmas. There was one game, the last game, I played against Infernal Dwarves, and I got one of his units down to from weapon skill 5 to weapon skill 2, and that made him hit me on 5s, and that it didn't win me the game, but it gave me another turn, as we'll get to. But yeah, like the miasma is so good, and also to be able to reduce people's initiative as well is really important. Obviously, the Spear of Cadaron, that requires striking first and then getting distracting. So if I can strike first, it's really important against the guys that are weapon skill 7 that can either come in and kill me, or that strike first and hurt my unit before the distracting's up. So being able to do that's really important. Having the negative toughness is good against the monsters, because that's kind of what Sylvan Elves struggle with most, is the big monsters with good armor saves. So being able to reduce the toughness of something allows me to shoot it. So one game I played against ogres, and he had a frost mammoth, and I'm sure you can guess what happened. And similarly against the vampire matchup with terrorgeist and things like that. So I have the poison, so I can kill these monsters with no armor, and then the ones which have armor, you just have to make them save. So the more saves that you get to, the more wounds it takes. So if you can reduce the toughness, that's obviously good. Yeah,
especially if you're shooting armor-piercing shots with your black arrows, or if you're getting +1 strength, if you're getting strength 4 shots and you're reducing by D3 toughness, suddenly you'll do a lot more damage.
Exactly.
And you can always use the miasma on opponents' shooting units as well, so it's kind of makes sure that you win the shootout no matter what.
Yeah, and miasma in people's movement is really good as well. I did that a few games to stop people getting objectives, and also ballistic skill, because when you play a shooting matchup, if you can reduce the ballistic skill of a unit, that means that you're taking less damage, and anything that gives the Sylvan Elves the ability to take less damage is good, because we have no armor and we're toughness 3. And my army, the highest toughness is toughness 5 on the Lord, and then everything else is 3 or 4. Finally, Mind Razor. Obviously, Mind Razor wins games. And all my units benefit from Mind Razor, every single one. Whether it's the Sylvan Sentinels with paired weapons, striking at initiative 6 with +1 to hit, and combining that with miasma, so I can essentially, like always hit on a 2+, and then cast Mind Razor and they wound automatically. Same with the Huntsmen, they have 4 attacks each from the riders when they charge, and 2 from the mounts. So that's 30 attacks that wound automatically if I can cast this spell.
And with armor piercing 1 as well.
Yeah. Well, they already have armor piercing and strength 4.
Also the mounts?
Yeah, well the mounts get an extra armor piercing. So all my units can benefit from that spell, and yeah, it's fantastic. The pit I didn't really use that much. The
No.
Devouring Darkness, I used it once and forgot that it did multiple wounds. And the movement one I never used, and the orb I took once but never used it.
I actually used I ran Shadow as well with my Worm Swarm army, and I used the movement thing to kind of move over one of my opponent's chaff units to score an objective.
That's cool. That's nice.
I think
maybe you want to talk about your list?
Are you done with yours?
Yeah, I'm completely finished now.
Yeah, I can run you through mine.
Yours is just getting this Battle Scribe out. If you guys haven't got Battle Scribe, I thoroughly recommend it. It's a fantastic app.
Yeah, especially if you're going tournament plays, because it's so easy to structure your list, so your opponent has a easy time reading it. I think that's just fair playing. Well, first of all, I have in my Lord, I have a Magister with a Dispel Scroll and a Ring of Fire. He's running 2 Dark Shards, and he's a level 4 in Shadow. Dark Shards is... Some people like it, some people don't. I'm running it because it can mean a huge difference if you're trying to get that Mind Race off. That's going to win you the game. It's just always nice to have the option of giving minus D3 to your opponent's Dispel
What's
check.
the negative side of a Dark Shard?
You risk taking wounds, and it's 20 points.
Okay.
20 points. That's a lot of slaves, or that's 10 slaves, or that's some extra rats, and it's like 1/3 of a weapon team and stuff like that.
So it's kind of expensive.
Yeah, 20 points is.
I think it's good though.
Yeah, I think it can win you the game.
Yeah.
And 20 points for the option of winning you the game.
Yeah, just
I
having
think
the opportunity, right?
Yeah, especially when you're running a level 4. Then, as in my hero choices, I'm running an Apprentice Magister who is level 2 on Ruin. He's running the Eye of the Storm, and he knows an extra spell. I like the Shadow and Ruin setup because that makes sure that you always have at least 2 combat buffs to pick from. Either you get your minus toughness on your opponent from the Shadow, or you get Mind Racer, and you of course have Shadow Miasma, good for combats as well.
Yeah, the minus strength is also really nice.
Yeah.
With the Sylvan Elves, if the enemy is minus strength, then it's harder to wound you, which
it's not as important as a scaling player.
Increases the survivability.
It's not as important as a scaling player because, like, okay, then he'll kill less of your slaves.
Kill 2 or 3 more slaves.
It's okay. It's not the biggest problem. The problem I have is that I'm not doing damage.
Yeah.
And it's really important to get the combat buffs. And the games where I didn't get Mind Racer, I had the option of going for the +1 to wound and lethal strikes from the Ruin. Mm-hmm. So I like how the two lists
complement each other, right?
Exactly. And I think Ruin is a very nice utility lore, but it's just not getting any love right now. That was why I was trying it out.
I think that just the signature spell is really good. Strength 5, Magic Missile.
Yeah, works
Can't complain.
Yeah, and your 20 points, you get the Hellbird upgrade for the guy who has it, and he gets +2.
Yeah.
I think that's really strong as well. Just making sure that you destroy your opponent's chaff units instantly. As my BSB, I just had a guy with a banner. It was a storm banner.
Storm
the lightning. Yes, what you call it? The lightning rod. He's just there. He's sitting in the big bunker with my level 4. Then of course I have the plague pendulum. I was running, of course. Like this guy is just. You don't have anything else in the army that can do the same thing, no. and he's just doing it really well. One of the best combat characters in the game.
Yeah, for sure. It's more the unit as well. It's just really fantastic unit.
Yeah, I think I'm actually thinking about running the unit as a 15-man unit because they're kind of holding the character back.
Okay.
Because if the unit isn't there, he's a chariot, so he gains swift stride.
Okay.
And he can't march even though he's in the unit.
Yeah.
Because he's only moving the 10-inch anyways, so I think it's important to get the swift stride. So I've been thinking about running him in just a 15-man unit, just to kind of bait my opponent to kill the unit. Okay. and let him have free roam. But then he loses leadership, and he's only a leadership 6 stubborn. There's pros and cons, but okay. Anyways, and he's of course running the Armlet of Power and sort of the Swarm setup, so he has 7 strength 8 attacks.
Wow. Okay,
That's,
and the armlet that gives you strength bonus?
Yeah, it's a bounce spell, power level 3.
And then the swarm gives you +1 attack for every rank, right?
No, it just gives me +3 attacks if I have more ranks than my opponent.
Okay.
So I think it's a very nice setup. I see 2 setups with him right now, with this character. One is the Blade of the Swarm and the plus strength thing, and the other one is a tanky setup where he has the 2+ armor save from the plate armor, from what's it called? It's called the toxic plate armor. I don't remember the name of it right now.
Oh, Jonas.
Yeah.
Come on.
So either he's running a tanky setup with a 2+ armor save, and that gives your opponent a toxic attack every time you do an armor save, or you run the damage output setup. But my experience is that with your opponent, most of the times he'll just dispel the Armlet of Power. This was of course hidden list, so I was kind of hoping to sneak it in there.
Did it ever work?
Yeah, I got it off a couple of times, but never in any like game-winning situations. But I think it's still a nice build. For my core, I'm running 10 Giant Rats. I'm running 26 Plague Brotherhood. I think that's a little bit low number.
Did it matter?
At some points, I think I lost some attacks that even if perhaps 28 or 30 guys, I think is the prime number.
The sweet spot.
Yeah, because then you're not paying for something that you're not using and stuff like that. And of course they are plague-ridden upgrades, so your opponent will get the -1 on the weapon skill.
It's really annoying when you're elves.
Yeah. Or if you're flagellants, for instance, then you're down to weapon skill 2. Then of course I'm running 2 units of Rat Arms, one as a bunker with the +1 the standard of discipline. Both of them having a full command crew, so that
scoring, right?
Yeah, so it brings me to 3 scoring units with the Plague Pendulum and with the Plague Brotherhood unit and the 2 Rat Arms units. Both on the one Rat Arms unit is on 24 and the other one is on 25 models. Then I'm running a block of slaves, so I'm running a 4-block setup with the 2 Rat Arms units on the flanks. Then the tar pit from the slaves in the center beside the Plague Pendulum unit to kind of make sure that the Plague Pendulum doesn't get outflanked, because you lose so much damage output if your pendulum is getting outflanked. So that's how I built my center. For special, I'm running 9 Gutter Runners because they're just really good. Of course, with the poison and
best unit in the Skaven book.
Yeah, I think they're really both pros and cons. Then I'm running 6 Chasliers. I'm running 2 Rat Swarms, and then I'm running 3 weapon teams. And this is where my list gets a little bit weird. I'm running 2 Meat Grinder weapon teams and 1 Napple Thrower.
And the Meat Grinders go in the Rat Arms, right?
The Meat Grinders goes into the Rat Arms, making sure that I fill up my front rank. So I have my command crew, that's 3 guys, and then the weapon team, that's another 2 guys in the front rank, making me able to push back the characters into the second rank, making it a more safe army. And of course you can run the Meat Grinder on their own if you want. They are still 2+ armor saves.
Can you shoot the Meat Grinder if it's in a unit?
No, it's infantry.
Okay, so that's really good then.
Yeah, but it has 2+, 4+ against shooting, so it's kind of hard to shoot anyways. Okay. And another thing I was using it for, I was using it as a redirector. Or
pop out of units.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I usually did was running the center of my army, the Plague Monks and the Slaves, pushing them up, having my 2 Rat Arms units stay back a little bit to countercharge with the Meat Grinders into whatever opponents I was hitting. And actually work
like a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, exactly. So you start by running in a unit of slaves. You just chaff him up, and when he goes, okay, I gotta fucking do something about these slaves, you have the 2 Meat Grinders on the flanks of the slaves. So you do like 4d6 impact hits with strength 4, armor piercing 1.
Shit.
Like the most elf armies and like the most
That
stuff
ruins your day. That ruins your day so badly.
Yeah, like, and especially because you're getting your meat grinders pushed to the side of your opponent's units. So most
Not
of
many
the times,
attacks coming back.
yeah, exactly. So,
and it's 2+ armor save, right, in combat, or?
Yeah, 2+ armor save in close combat.
Yeah, so you're not really losing anything by getting the meat riders in there.
Yeah, so usually you'll get 2 rounds of combat with it. So that's each of them doing 4 strength, 4d6 strength 4 armor piercing 1 attacks on your opponent. That's pretty strong, and especially when you have the shadow miasma to reduce your opponent's initiative to make sure that you get your initiative 4 grind attacks off. Yeah. That's just really strong.
That's really nice.
And they are comboing well with my rear choice as well, which of course is 2 Thunderhawks. So I have the option of doing 6d6 impact hits.
Yeah, they have the same one, right?
Yeah, and that can just really ruin your day when your opponent runs in and do 21 strength 4 armor piercing 1 at initiative 10. That can do a lot of damage. And of course I'm bringing 2 Dreadmills as well. And Plague Catapult.
How are you feeling about the Dreadmills right now? Because I know we've had a couple of games recently where they're just blown up.
Yeah.
But then when you're playing against them, they're just really, really strong. Like the shooting attack, you can do it in combat. It does D3 wounds. It's really good. Like what's your opinion overall on them? I mean, they're only 140 points, so they're not that expensive. I think you need them to help with your flanks because of just being Vermin Swarm. It's hard. But like, how do you feel in general about them?
I feel like I think they're in an okay spot. And I always liked the Dreadmill or the Doommill as it was called back in the days, because they do decent amount of damage to single characters. But like the most stuff they meet on the flanks, your opponent knows not to bring their dragon closest to your Dreadmills, so your opponent has options of playing around it.
Yeah.
So that's why I like it. It's not like an auto win button. It's not like a cannon that can just sit on the back line and just kill your opponent's dragon on long range.
No, you have that as well.
Yeah,
you have that cannon as well.
But yeah, unless you roll 22. So you have to commit your Dreadmill into the danger zone. The danger zone. So you have to commit it in, and your opponent has the option of playing around it. So I think it's fair, and I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But I also think it's something that the Vermin Swarm needs.
Yeah.
To make sure that your flank's gonna hold.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's fine. Because obviously you did really well in the tournament, and you brought 2. I think there was another Skaven list. At least I played a Skaven list with 2 Dreadmills as well.
Yeah.
So there must be a viable option.
Yeah. I think a lot of people brings double Dreadmill. I think the most common list right now is the shooty list with something like double Dreadmill, double cannon.
Yeah, that's what I faced in game 3.
And it's just really good when you're playing against a meta that's based around single characters, chariot characters, dragons, and monster characters and stuff. I think there's a lot of that right now, which gives Vermin Swarm a big advantage because we can single in, focus on only getting multiple wounds in there in our shooting, and then we get like the trick for everything that we meet, because there's not the big deviation in what you're meeting now.
In most armies, apart from mine, there is a big multiple wound model that can be targeted out. And your last rare choice?
I just have the double Dreadmills, the Vermin, the Thunderhawks, and the Catapult. We had some discussion about the Catapult.
I think it's really, really good.
Some think it's really good, some think it's really bad. I just gotta say,
Here we go. I'm comfy.
I killed 15 toughness 3 models with 1 hit.
What models were they?
It was just. I actually did it twice. I did it against. I did it against the Halberd unit. So just Halberdiers, like taking off 3 ranks of a Halberdier unit.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's really good. And I did it again. I did it against a mage bunker with goblins. So I forced him into one of his other goblin units.
Just like all the goblins getting pulverized by toxic attacks.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And then he was forced to move over into his other block, and then my gutter runners came onto the table and charged that mage bunker the next turn. So he was like moving back and forth between mage bunkers, and he didn't know what to do because, my artillery was doing work. I think that artillery piece has done huge work this tournament.
Yeah.
I don't think it's overpowered in any ways. It's really strong with Shadow.
It's a really good counter to my army.
Yeah, and you give your opponent -1 toughness with Shadow, and then you bomb him with strength 3 hits, no armor save allowed.
I remember you trying to do that against me in the practice game.
Yeah,
I was having none of it. I was like, Dispel scroll, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really important. That was actually one of the reasons why I brought it, because it gives me the option of taking out my opponent's Dispel scroll before we get into close combat.
Yeah.
Opening up for the option of casting Mind Razor. Because usually your opponent will just save a scroll and then Mind Razor, scroll your first Mind Razor you get through.
Yeah, I had exactly the same experience with Shadow. I was throwing the toughness debuff down, and it was just like scroll.
Yep.
And then when it came around to combat, I could cast a Mind Razor or a toughness or a Might Esmo, and then I would get it through because the scroll was gone.
But you need the shooting to threaten
exactly
the toughness, because or else your opponent will just wait, and then in his own turn just take it off with his own power dice. Of course, it's always nice to kind of limit your opponent's magic phase by like occupying 3 or 4 power dice or something like that. But it's just you're not getting any damage out of your own power dice.
Yeah. There's actually one game that I played in the tournament where I threw a toughness spell, and I actually wanted him to use a scroll, and that was the only reason I threw the spell. I didn't actually, at that point, I didn't need it. I wasn't going to target the unit anyway, but I just thought that if I throw the spell down, he's going to use a scroll because he thinks I'm going to target him, and I kind of played that I needed him to use a scroll now so that I could get the buff that I wanted to the next turn in the combat.
So that's why I think it's Shadow. That's even again one of the reasons why I think Shadow is a really strong lore right now, and I'm really happy that Skaven, that Vermin Swarm got the option of picking it, because it's something that the Vermin Swarm have been needing back when it was Skaven. They needed the utility lore, and especially to synergize with some of your shooting stuff. Yeah. And I really think it's a nice lore. And I think it's mandatory. I'm running it all the time.
But before we go into the games, we're going to take a quick break in a second. But you had Ruin, but I had no magic missiles. Did you feel that with Shadow on your level 4, did you feel you were a bit limited by not being able to reach out and damage your opponent with your magic?
That was why I was running the Ring of Fire on my level 4, because I wanted to have 2 magic missiles to always be able to deal with your opponent's chaff, and especially the Ruin magic missile, which is lightning attacks. It's just so strong at killing off birds and all that. Those really fast chaff units, and then a ruby ring, a ring of fire. I think that's mandatory if you're running shadow magic, because you need the extra damage from your magic. You need to be able to damage your opponent.
I was thinking about the same. Instead of the bow Wyscan, I was going to put the ring of fire on my other level 2 wizard. But I didn't go with it in the end, and I think it was the right decision, because for me the poison shots are better, are more reliable, and deal with things like the things that I'm struggling to deal with the Sylvan Elves. Like my army was kind of like trying to play around the magic, and the setup was what can't they deal with, and I'm going to address that in the magic phase.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same thinking I applied. I needed the vermin. I had the vermin hulks to deal with my opponent's chaff, because with the rattling gun you can deal with a lot of shit. And then I had the 2 magic missiles. Because I really don't want to commit the Jazzleers into shooting fast cavalry, because sometimes you have to, but especially if your opponent is running like 3+ armor save cavalry, stuff like that. But usually you would like to hit your opponent's single characters with your Jazzleers. So you kind of have to have something else to take care of the chaff. So that was why I was running the vermin hulks with the rattling gun and the 2 magic missiles to kind of clear everything away that was in front of my Peg Pendant unit.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break now, and then we're going to come back after. I think we might actually split the podcast into 2. So this will be part 1, and then part 2 will be a separate podcast, so it's a bit easier to listen to. and then in part 2 we're going to talk about our games.